who are empaths and what does it mean to be an empath. So before I get rolling here and talk about how to navigate this realm if you're an empath, it's very important to point out that you must not get attached to labels, and you must not feel superior because you happen to be associated in your mind with a particular label. So the label of the empath is basically what the name suggests, somebody who is very sensitive to their environment, very sensitive to their emotions, very sensitive to other people's vibrations. So essentially, you're an open conduit for energy to come in. You're an open vessel. You walk into a place and it's like you walk into nature and you so pick up on all these positive vibes, and your breathing even alters, and you're just like, wow, you get high. Whereas another person who is not very sensitive in that way will walk into, say, a really beautiful place and they won't really be feeling much. They'll be like, oh, that's kind of cool. That's kind of cool. But they won't feel the same you felt, you know, because you have more energy channels open as an empathic person. So then you could be with someone who gives out a lot of negative energy. You could be living with someone at home who gives out a lot of negative energy, and you just walk into the house and you just look at them and you feel anxiety in your body, and you feel like negative, and you feel this ickiness, and you begin to even breathe shallow, and you start to breathe from your chest because you feel the anxiety in your belly. You just pick it up, right? So you pick up, you go around as an empathic person picking up vibrations. Okay, now the disclaimer I gave out in the beginning of the video is, don't feel superior that you're an empathic person, simply because everybody's an empathic person. It just depends on how much of your energy channels are opened up. Some people's energy channels are more opened up naturally by virtue of the vehicle in which they incarnated in, and by virtue of all their past life karma and the vibration they bring from the place that they last were before they incarnated. Some people are here from these other star systems, from these other realms, from these other densities, so they bring in a more fourth density vibration, fifth density vibration, which is associated with the heart and with the throat, with the wisdom. So they come from these places, and so that sort of automatically gives out more sensitivity. You are a more sensitive entity, a more sensitive being. So that shines through the vehicle, and you're naturally, since birth, a more sensitive person than the other people around you inhabiting this third density vibrational realm, which is, you know, ascending, as we talked about in previous video. So everybody's empathic. It just so happens, for many different factors, certain individuals are more naturally sensitive. Like, look, by virtue of being a woman, you're already more empathic. Just that alone. You don't have to come from another density or whatever. Just by virtue of you being a woman, because of the way the biological vehicle is designed, you're already more of an empathic person as is. Okay, you know, women pick up on vibes, you know, more intensely than men. That's just in general, but you know, once a man becomes also more in touch with that, they could actually exhibit more empathic and sensitive sort of they could be more sensitive to the environment than most women alive, you know. So but I'm saying, as a general rule of thumb, and rules of thumb are just that, rules of thumb, a woman, by biological design, by virtue of DNA, virtue of the difference of the male and the female vehicle, biological vehicle, vessel, then a woman is more likely to be empathic than a man. Okay, so again, all these different factors, everybody's empathic, everybody's God, everybody's consciousness. So that's why must not feel superior, must not attach yourself to the label, but must acknowledge that perhaps that you tend to be, that you are more empathic, more sensitive to your environment than most human beings alive, because most human beings alive are desensitized due to the foods they eat, due to the lifestyle they lead, due to the medications they take, due to genetic defects, due to the way humans have been living for the last couple of thousand years, which has just been brutally destructive to the organism and to the environment. So the truth of the matter is most human beings are desensitized. Okay? So there is a very good chance that indeed you are, relative to the rest of your fellow human beings, are an empath, are a sensitive person. Now that comes with a price, a heavy price, because most humanity lives in suffering, because most humanity lives in physical suffering and mental suffering. There happens to be a lot of negativity in the world, which means, as an empathic person, as someone whose energy channels for several factors that are not so important, the matter of fact is you have more energy channels opened up, a more sensitive nervous system. So therefore, in a negative world, just pick it up right away. You pick. I mean, I remember, you know, there was a lot of tension in my house. We had a lot of domestic violence, and I would just feel it also between my mom and my dad, for example. I'll just pick it up. Because kids, if you want to know that everybody's empathic, you look at kids. They're mostly, they're very sensitive. They pick up things before they get desensitized as they grow up. So, but yeah, I remember like, ooh, just pick it up. Ooh, I walk in the house and I just feel the tension. I just pick it up in my body, and I'd store it. Which is why I grew up so angry and frustrated, and had to deal with depression and suicidal thoughts, etc. But it's a problem if you live in a negative world, in a traumatized world, in a world that desperately needs healing. Yeah, as an empathic, not overly sensitive. Overly sensitive is only overly sensitive because there is no sensitivity in the world. You're gonna pick up a lot of negativity, so that's the heavy price you pay as an empath, as a highly sensitive person. That's the price you pay. Is you're picking up on all this negativity. Like my friend who was diagnosed with schizophrenia. Now, schizophrenia is shamanism disguised as schizophrenia, because they don't want these healers to unleash their powers and help heal the planet, the powers that be. So he told me that when he was going through his thing, he would walk in the streets, and he would be like all kinds of negative entities. He would see them with his eyes, and he would hear their voices telling him to go kill himself and stuff, which he actually attempted suicide. And that's because the world we live in. I mean, like, if you live in this world, oh God, if you live in almost any city, like, oh man, you know, almost any city, you'll oh, there's so many like, that's their favorite places, because that's when that's where these fourth density parasitic entities can go and feed on you. Because they love places like nightclubs and stuff. They love those places. They love it because they could tell you, to go and drink alcohol and eat all this, processed foods, and then that's how they have a hook. They can hook to you, and they could possess you, right? They love these places. Oh God, they love them. They love them. You ever try? Like, I mean, that's why, like, they always tell you, hey, look, if you're gonna take mushrooms, like, don't take them in the middle of downtown or in the middle of a city. They always tell you, go to nature, setting. Because if you go to these places, essentially like when I take mushrooms, like, I become essentially schizophrenic. I start to speak to myself and speak to entities and see them and hear them. And yeah, I've tried to take mushrooms and go to the city. It was not a pleasant experience, right? It's not, because that's the places they love to hang out in. And well, most humans live in these cities, right? In these polluted electrical cages. So yeah, of course. So as a sensitive, empathic person, where are you mostly? You're mostly living in a human city, in a modern human city that is full of these parasitic entities, right? So yeah, of course, that's a struggle. That's a big, big struggle. Your nervous system gets overwhelmed with this energy, with this negative energy, and then it gets fried out, and then you get depressed and anxious, and you start to want to commit suicide and stuff, right? A lot of empaths and light workers, they say, they report at some point they wanted to commit suicide. I wanted to commit suicide at some point because it was too overwhelming, the negativity. So, all right, how do we go on about this practically? How do we live with our curse? Seemingly it's a curse, but actually it is your gift. How do you live with your gift? How do you live with your gift? Well, that is your gift. You're here as a healer, as a light worker, and you're here also to work on your consciousness, to clear up your karma and ascend to the next level. So you're here simultaneously for these two things. You're here to spread the light, to alleviate suffering, and that's why you're an overly, not overly, that's not true. That's why you are a more expanded awareness that is sensitive to its environment and sensitive to the vibrations around it and sensitive to the suffering, because you have to be sensitive to the suffering to be able to carry out your mission and relieve it. You understand? You understand? So, these clouds are beautiful. So, there we go. So, what do we do about this practically? You have to understand that this realm has been through a lot of suffering, that it is moving to fourth and fifth densities, that in maybe a few hundreds or thousands possibly years, there will be little to no suffering on the planet due to this shift. So, but you have to understand that you took on a human vessel, you volunteered, you agreed to come here to help facilitate the process as a light worker, as a wanderer, as a starseed, whatever you want to call it. And so therefore, you've got to be a full human being, a full-fledged human being, right here in the moment, right here doing groundwork to alleviate the suffering. Okay? And therefore, there shall be no more suppression of your tears that are coming out of a place of compassion for the predicament in which the humanity and the planet and the animals and all beings have found themselves in at the moment. There shall be no suppression of such tears. There shall be no suppression of your sadness because of all the negativity that is going around, that has been going around, and all the suffering. There shall be a total embracing of that, a total visceral feeling of the suffering of the world, not a suppression. Because you're a sensitive, empathic person that takes on all this energy, and that energy gets stored in your mind-body complex, and that energy must be released first. So you spend as much time as you can really feeling the pain, feeling the suffering, crying, feeling sadness, feeling even the depression, feeling it. And once that's done and over with, what happens is naturally you progress into the next level, which is, what can I do about it practically? What can I do about it practically? See, your gift as an empath is that you could also give out immense joy, and it could be so goddamn powerful and contagious. So that's part of your gift. Is I mean, if you're joyful, if you ever been around a really really joyful person, like, it's contagious, isn't it? Very very contagious. And so that's also your gift. Now, a lot of empaths, they find it difficult to navigate this realm because they do come, their soul does come from a higher vibrational density, because you sort of have gone through a different stage of evolution, and you've already finished with the third density quite a long time ago in that time space game. And so when you come from these really serene, harmonious, peaceful places, you come here, you're like, I don't belong here, and you find it difficult to navigate here. You're too sensitive, too loving. You're almost too loving to be in this sort of it's a really tough, in many ways brutal place. I mean, I tell you, I grew up on the streets. I grew up on very mean streets, very mean streets, constantly getting into fights. I got into knife fights, right? Like, I had some knives pulled on me. I pulled knives on people. I grew up on very mean, tough streets. Very mean. Like, this is a mean place. This is a mean place. It really is. That's why we're here. We're here to facilitate the process of ascension. Because, guys like, this is too mean. I'm going up. And it called, dialed 911, said, okay, can you guys send me some of your people here? Called the higher density places where they already ascended past their density, said, bring me people here. I want to, I want some help here to go up, to go to the next level. This is to go even further beyond. That's a reference to Super Saiyan 3 transformation. That's what Gaia is doing. That's what the Earth is doing. So many of you find it very difficult to navigate through this, and you care too much, and you care too much about people's opinions. You care too much. You're just so loving, and you care too much. You care too much, and then you find it difficult to speak your truth due to that, because you care too much. You say so. I mean, I see this. A lot of the light workers find it difficult to speak their truth, and I've spoken to many of you guys. Okay, and that seems to be a big problem for light workers. Not I don't like to say the word problem. A big situation, because the situation implies there's a solution. But even the word problem implies there's a solution. Anyway, it really doesn't matter. You get what I'm trying to say here. Let's get past the bullshit. A lot of light workers seem to have difficulties expressing their truth, because they have so much love and compassion, but because they care too much and they're too sensitive. You say something and somebody comes and shoots you down, right? Says you're an idiot, or get back. I mean, it's enough with the sauce, right? I get those comments a lot, right? Enough with the sauce, Saeed. Enough with this crap. Enough with this bullshit. Get back to fitness. Get back to this. Do this, right? You're an idiot. You're this. You're that. And because you're too sensitive, you take it to heart, and you maybe cry, and you're like, I'm not gonna put. This world's too difficult. All right, you delete your YouTube channel, you delete your Facebook, whatever, because it's just too tough for you. It's too difficult. Speaking the truth in this really brutal place, where people will come and shoot you down and troll you and bully you. It's too difficult, right? It's just too difficult. So then, in that case, what you have to work on is embracing the third density. See, I guess that's the way it is here. That's the consciousness of the planet here. People are mean to one another here. They bully one another a lot, because they are living still in the third density. Most of their consciousness is focused in the third chakra, in the solar plexus. They're always trying to one up one another, overpower the other, and that's the way it is on this planet. And so full recognition and acceptance that you're actually here to precisely change that behavior. And it's very important that for you, therefore, to speak your truth, to change that type of behavior, to take the planet past the third density. Therefore, it is almost your duty towards yourself, towards God, towards the Tao, towards the Force, towards the Way. It becomes your duty to speak your truth. You have to remember something. You are also here to work on your own consciousness. And many of the light workers here are fourth density or fifth density beings, looking to balance love and wisdom. Fourth density, fifth density, to go to the sixth density. So for you might be too much in your heart, too much in your compassion, too much in the fourth chakra. And actually, part of your evolution as a consciousness, as a soul here, is to speak your truth. So stop caring too much. Okay? Speak your truth. Accept that others will bully you. Accept that others will call you names. And now you, as a consciousness, are working on moving to the sixth density, because you're not just here to facilitate the process. You're simultaneously here to work on yourself, your consciousness. So then what happens is now you're balancing the heart, because some of you are too focused in the heart and still not fully embodying the wisdom, the fifth density. So then you start to speak your truth, and now you could even go up beyond and then find the balance of the compassion and the wisdom. And Buddhists call this the sacred marriage of compassion and wisdom. Compassion and wisdom. If you study Buddhism, you'll see this a lot. They talk about compassion and wisdom. Compassion and wisdom. You'll see it everywhere in the books, in the scriptures. Compassion and wisdom, because that's the fourth and the fifth, and that takes you to the sixth. That's the balance. Six is associated with balance. The balance of the heart and the balance of the truth. Because speaking the truth requires a tough skin. And what you require as an overly, again, not a good word. What you require to use, it's only overly sensitive from the perspective of the third density, but actually it's more, I would call it, as a more intuitive person, as a more aware. It's more awareness, expanded awareness, more energy channels open. So, as a sensitive person, as an empathic person, who maybe cares too much, actually your job to work on yourself is to start speak the truth and develop a tougher skin and see things with wisdom. See it with wisdom. That, because the wisdom is, they're only doing this because, it's like Jesus says on the cross, Father, forgive them, for they not know what they do. Right? It's exact. That's wisdom. That's wisdom. So the wisdom is actually you seeing that I'm actually here to help alleviate their suffering by helping us, by becoming more wisdom, more love, both in balance. So that way, the vibration goes up, and that way, these people that are now bullying me and making fun of me and calling me names will have a better chance on a planet that is more ascended to actually go beyond this type of behavior. And I could speak this, I grew up on very mean streets, and I got in the same behavior. I was trying to one up my friends. I was always trying to shit on others. I was always trying to like bully others, because that's kind of where I grew up, and I had to adjust to the behavior, and I had to meld in with my environment to survive. Okay, so I get it now. I was operating at third density consciousness. I get it. It's like, that's the compassion also. So that's the balance of the compassion and the wisdom. So then, therefore, the moral of the story, my sweet friends, is speak your truth. As an empathic, sensitive person, speak your truth. That YouTube channel that you started and you were so excited about, and then because you saw some negative comments and you deleted it, get back on it. That music that you produced, that you put out, but they didn't get views, and some people told you, it's not good enough and this and that. All right, go and put it out again. Okay? Because you're needed here. You're needed. That's your job. And if you don't do your job here, you're not working on your own consciousness to go to the sixth density, to balance the wisdom and the truth with the love and the compassion. Then you're not doing yourself a favor. Forget about the planet. Forget about the people here. Forget about the ascension. You're not doing yourself a favor. It's important that part of the journey of the soul is to start speaking your truth. Okay? And trust me, you will develop a thick skin. I've been in this game now for a few years. I had a fitness channel that I deleted, but it was got really got big, got over 100,000 subscribers, and I got so much criticism over the years. You develop the thick skin naturally, and then you speaking your truth becomes as easy as walking, and it's very liberating and very therapeutic. Okay, I can't stop making videos because this is my therapy. It's my therapy. It's my way of balancing, finding the balance of wisdom and love and compassion. Okay, so begin to share your truth with others, and do it unapologetically. Okay, this realm requires a certain level of detachment and thick skin. Okay, doesn't mean you close your heart at all. It means you direct this love, and you see with the eyes of compassion that these people are acting this way because they, Father, forgive them, for they do not know. They do not know. The way they're speaking to you, because they're calling themselves names. If somebody comes and says you're not good enough, it's because somebody else told them, his dad or her dad or her mom or the teachers or their peers told them you're not good enough. So that's the way they speak to themselves. So that's the way they're gonna speak to you. We're here to change that. But if you don't speak your truth, if you don't share your truth, if you don't share your gift with the world, whatever your gift is, your music, your art, your videos, your whatever, then yeah, of course, yeah, you're not doing you're not doing what you came here to do. Okay, so speak your truth as an empath, as a sensitive person. Your lesson here, if you find it too difficult, you care too much, you're too sensitive, is begin to speak your truth and keep your heart open and become joy. Because if you become joy, you know you, it's so contagious. Okay. Uh, Thank you to all the people. That's for you that support this channel on Patreon. And thank you to all the people who support on PayPal, the one-time donations. I have links in the description if you would like to contribute, like $2 a month or something. You know, it's really like, come on, $2 a month, right? If you like this content a lot, you've got a couple of bucks to spare. Uh, Maybe one day I'll do this full time and I'll travel around. Maybe we'll host retreats and stuff. And of course, if you do that and I'm getting supported via you guys on Patreon, it'll practically be all for free because you're supporting it, right? So yeah, that's how I would like to go on honestly about this whole YouTube thing. Is have the people willingly and voluntarily supporting and then give back to the people in that way. So yeah, Instagram Saeed Mobayed, and until next time, may the force be with you.